Namaste, everyone. Welcome. It's a blessing to have you here for how to improve our karma with Ashwini Nakshatra. This is the first episode in a 27-episode Nakshatra series, where we discuss the mythology of each Nakshatra, the karmic influence of each Nakshatra. We're also going to discuss how each planet will act in that Nakshatra. We're also going to discuss remedy specific for that nakshatra and look at specific examples of powerful figures who had karma with that nakshatra. And so it's such a blessing to be able to start this wonderful journey with all of you. Really looking forward to this, how to improve our karma with Ashwini. So I'm going to share my screen with everyone. Welcome, everyone, for how to improve our karma with Ashwini Nakshatra. When we're looking at this, it's called the star of transport. Ashwini Nakshatra is sometimes called the star of transport. Ashwini is the Sanskrit term here, and this is the proper transliteration of the Sanskrit. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kṣaṇāti, and we're going to be doing this 27-episode series together. If any of you have any private inquiries, any type of questions, or are interested in my professional services, I do private birth chart readings, private nakshatra readings, private astrocartography readings. So if you're ever interested, this is my website. You can contact me by email. I also have a Facebook for my astrological community where I post daily updates, certain mantras, certain yantras that you can do to improve your karma with the various planets. So please join us there. And this bottom link is my YouTube channel, which is just getting off the ground. But those videos I do with Saptarishis astrology, they also go on my YouTube channel. So they're all up there to be looked at. So please check that out. Please check that out. Really appreciate it. Now, today I split the how to improve our karma with Ashwini into 7 different parts. First, we're going to discuss the mythology. Then we're going to discuss the karma. And also, we're going to discuss the current transit. The reason I chose today for how to improve our karma with Ashwini is because the moon is in Ashwini right now. The moon is in Ashwini only for a short period of time, and that is the most auspicious time to discuss Ashwini Nakshatra. But we're also going to discuss when Mars will be in Ashwini, when Sun will be in Ashwini, when Mercury will be in Ashwini, when Venus will be in Ashwini, because these have significations. Then we're going to discuss Ashwini and planetary relationship. This is how Ashwini relates to the different signs, how Ashwini relates to Sun, how Ashwini relates to Moon, how Ashwini relates to Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, Mars. So we're going to discuss all of those specific aspects in detail. And so for those of you who have Ashwini in a particular aspect in your chart, you'll be able to get insight about that through the Ashwini planetary relationship. Then we're going to discuss remedy to improve our karma with Ashwini Nakshatra. I do ancient remedy. I do Ayurvedic remedy. We're going to do contemporary remedy, lifestyle remedy. If you have Ashwini karma, how do we improve our relationship with Ashwini? And then we're going to do some examples. Actually, Yoganandaji. We're going to discuss Yoganandaji as an example. And then we're going to conclude and just go over some live questions that any of you might have. Now, there is a chat. There's a chat bar here. So if there are anything you want to say during the webinar, don't be afraid to write it in the chat. And there also is any kind of questions that you might have. Don't be afraid to throw those into the chat as well. Now, before we can start doing any type of spiritual work, we have to honor the planet which is associated with it. Ashwini Nakshatra is ruled by Ketu, Kitave in Sanskrit, and Ketu is the south node of the moon. So it is so important when we are honoring Ashwini that also we are honoring Ketu. And there is no greater planet to honor in alignment with Ashwini then K2. So before we get started today, and to remove any ego, I'm going to be doing the K2 chant. So this K2 chant will totally bring transcendent illumination. It'll bring intuition. It'll bring insight. It'll bring non-attachment. It'll be letting go. It'll bring closer to moksha, which support the loss of the ego. So diving into this K2 chant, may we all lose our egos today. Palas puspa sankasham takara grahamastakam radram radatikam goram tamketu pranamamyam. Palas puspa sankasham takara grahamastakam radram radatikam goram tamketu pranamamyam. Om Palas puspa sankasham takara grahamastakam radram radatikam goram tamketu pranamamyam. Palas puspa sankasham takara grahamastakam radam radatikam goram tamketu pranamamyam. Palas puspa sankasham takara grahamastakam radram radatikam goram tamketu pranamamyam. Om Kram Krim Kram Saha Ketave Namaha. 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 Om Hrim Aim Kitave 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 Namaha. Hari Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Namaste. I hope everyone is feeling the presence of K2. Now we will discuss the Ashwini mythology in detail. When we talk about Ashwini mythology, we discuss the ancient history of Ashwini, that which is associated with Ashwini, that which is the ancient tale and the ancient scriptures which are connected with Ashwini. And when we look at that ancient scripture which is connected with Ashwini, we can see deep into the karma which is associated with Ashwini Nakshatra. Ashwini refers to the Ashwin Kumars, or the Ashwin twins, or the Ashwin brothers. Ashwin is a Sanskrit word referring to horses, and therefore the Ashwin twins are called the celestial horsemen, or the divine horse brothers. They are the children of Surya, the sun, and Saranyu, although there are different names for Saranyu. Saranyu-ji was actually unable to bear the fire and intensity of Surya-ji because the sun is so hot. the sun is so powerful, and ventured to a far-off land called Uttarakuru. In Uttarakuru, where she took this form of a female horse so that the sun would not find her. The sun located her and took the form of a male horse, and then the two of them had a divine union. The offspring of this union manifested the Ashwin twins that are also known by many names, primarily Natasya and Dashra. And these two royal twins became the Ashwin twins. So the Ashwin twins are birth of the sun. Their father is the sun, and this woman and this divine goddess Saranyuji. The Ashwin twins are considered the official physicians of Svarga, which is a heavenly or divine realm associated with the divine god Indra, Shri Indra. In these realms, we mentioned they are uniquely known as Dashra and Natasya, because you're not always looking at the Ashwin twins as, yes, they're brothers, they are together, but they are two brothers, they are two individual energies. So you have Dasra and you have Natasya. In ancient mythology, there was a great sage named Chaivana who had declined due to old age. So there was this great ancient sage. Chaivana's wife, Sukanya, offered the Ashwin twins the opportunity to become gods. And so basically, they had this opportunity to become gods. And so there was this blessing that they were seeking, even though the Ashwin twins were godlike. Even though the Ashwin twins were Deva-like, they actually weren't completely realized. In other words, they haven't achieved complete God realization, and so they were seeking that. There was desire for that. And so the wife of Chaivana offered the Ashwin twins this opportunity to become fully realized if and only if they could heal her husband. So the husband had to be healed. The twins instructed this old sage to bathe within a pond. And the Ashwin twins have a special power called Vyapani Shakti, which is the power to heal, to reach, and transform. So when Chaivana entered this pool to bathe, they activated the power of Vyapani Shakti, and this caused a complete rebirth. He came out, all of his weakness has been strength. All of his illness had been healed. All of his old age was removed, and he was youthful, he was young, he was alive again. And so you're looking at a very strong karmic aspect here, which is connected to the mythology, which is the ability to heal. But remember that that is connected to the desire for immortality. That is connected to the desire for God realization, because that was the motivation of the Ashwin twins. After restoring this sage to perfect health, the wife of the sage informed the brothers that they had to drink the soma, the celestial ambrosia, because that's what all the gods drank. That's what all the gods consumed. So they had to find the soma, and now they knew about the soma. The only thing that was separating the Ashwin twins from God realization was the soma. So they had to find the soma. And that was the purpose of their existence from that point on, because that was what they wanted to get to. Yes, they had the Dharma to heal. Yes, they had the power to heal, but they still wanted more. They still wanted the soma. They still wanted the celestial ambrosia. So they began this strong journey to find the soma. After some journeying, they had found and convinced the son of a priest named Dagyang, and revealed them the ancient ceremonial process for consuming the soma. And this was the closest they had gotten to actually finding the soma. So this is a very profound energy. They had actually found a priest who was willing to help them consume the soma. And so when the Lord Indra had heard of this, Lord Indra was furious. Lord Indra was absolutely furious because the Ashwin twins had spent some time with humanity. The Ashwin twins had spent some time having human desires. And so this isn't something that deserves the soma. This isn't something that causes complete realization, is desire and existing with the human condition. So Indra did not want the Ashwins to drink the soma. He was incredibly angry, fierce, angry, and he forcefully told the Ashwin twins that there would be an intense punishment to them. There would be a profound punishment to them if they had consumed the soma, or if anyone who helped them would consume the soma would be killed. So, you know, Indra is sort of fierce. Indra is sort of an intense deity. And he said basically that they would be karmically punished and that there would be this intense consequence for anyone that were to assist them. But these Ashwin twins, they were incredibly determined. They had to find the soma and perform the proper ceremony. They had to reach their state of God realization. And so in return for this assistance of Dadyank, they were going to create him another head. And so basically they already intuitively, and you know, Ketu has intuitive powers. The Ashwin twins knew that if the son of the priest Dadyank helped him, Lord Indra would cut his head off. So what they had to do is they had to create him another head, a fake head. And so the Ashwin twins created a fake head. They put it on the body of Dadyank, and then they took the real head and they hid it in a very private place, you know, sterile, because they're doctors. So, you know, the head is being kept in a healthy, safe area, you know, no infection, no bacteria, you know, just a funny image. And so when so then they perform the ceremony. The Ashwin twins consume the soma in a ritualistic fashion with the help of the son of the priest. And Lord Indra is fierce, and Lord Indra is angry. And he takes the head off of the son of the priest. He takes the head off of Dadyank. But it doesn't matter because the real head is hiding off at the side somewhere. So as soon as Indra goes back up to heaven, he puts the head back on the son of the priest. So there's this strong mythology here, which has to do with deception. It has to do with having desire for the soma, but it also has to do with the ability to heal. All of this mythology is deeply integrated into how Ashwini Nakshatra influences us, how Ashwini karma affects us. Now, mythologically speaking, the Ashwin twins are very close to their father, Surya, okay? And mystically speaking, the Ashwins are said to be the ushers of Sri Surya each and every morning when the sun rises and comes out. That means every morning before the sun comes out, the Ashwin twins come out. This is considered mystical. This is considered mythological. So it's the Ashwin twins which welcome the sun each morning. The Ashwin twins have this royal association because their father is the sun, because their father is Surya. They can sometimes be depicted in a beautiful golden chariot. So often when there is imagery which is associated with the Ashwin twins, they are carried in a beautiful golden chariot. And sometimes that golden chariot is carried by birds. And other times that golden chariot is carried by horses. And so there is this beautiful imagery of these two divine horsemen being carried on birds and horses. Also, the Ashwin twins are sometimes depicted as riding on horseback, which would be horses riding on horses, but the more human horse riding on the more animal horse. It's a very powerful image. Since the Ashwin twins welcome and usher the sun in each morning, they represent the first sign of daylight. So when it's the night and it's the Sandhi and it becomes day, that is when the Ashwin energy is present, because it's the first sign of the daylight. It is the first sign of when night becomes day. And so it is said that when the Ashwin twins lash their whip on the horses, that is when the dew falls on all of the earth. That is when the dew falls on all of the trees, all of the grass, all of the flowers, is when the Ashwin twins crack their whip to welcome Surya in the morning. Now, Ashwini Nakshatra is ruled by the south node of the moon, Ketu. That's why we did the Ketu chant earlier. We can understand this astrological rulership by connecting with the mythology and lessons of Ashwini. And so Ketu and the mythology kind of represent how Ashwini influences us. While the Ashwini were Deva-like, which means they were half divine, you could understand them, which is demigods. So these are almost fully realized, but they're demigods, so they're not completely realized. The Ashwin twins were Deva-like from their celestial birth because the sun was their father, but they were discontent with that. The Ashwins were discontent with that and desired a complete transformation to Deva. So the Ashwin twins weren't content with being demigods. They wanted to be fully realized. Once they were informed that the soma, the divine nectar, would bring them to a state of pure divinity, the purpose of their existence became to find and consume the soma at all costs. So basically, once they found out about the soma, that's all that they cared about. That's all that the Ashwin twins cared about, was how can I get my hands on that soma? They find out about this thing that's going to make them divine, realize, how can I get my hands on it? And that's connected to desire. The Ashwini Nakshatra karma is also associated with dharma, and this dharmic aim is connected with devotion to one's own purpose in life and the destiny thereof. In the case of the Ashwini twins, it is their dharma to heal. And they are doctors of the celestial realm known as Svarga. And since they are divine, due to Surya as their father, they have been bestowed a special divine karmic power known as Shidra Vyapani Shakti. This siddhi, or spiritual ability, is connected with the ability to completely heal things quickly, as well as the power to transform, travel, and catalyze change with profound speed. So the Ashwin twins have been given this power from their divine birth to heal things and change things. And they can do both of those things very quickly. And so Ashwini Nakshatra has this power to heal things and change things quickly. It also has the power to reach people and reach things quickly. And we're going to talk more about that. The Ashwin twins are said to represent duality, and this aspect of duality is deeply embedded within the karmic action of Ashwini. On one hand, you have the dharmic influence of their role as physicians, the power to heal and transform. So on one side of the duality of Ashwini, you have dharma. The Ashwini dharma is connected to healing. On the other side, you have the Ketu influence of moksha, which suggests a desire for moksha and profound spiritual liberation. And this is because the Ashwin twins had this desire to consume the soma and become fully God realized. So that's the part of the duality of Ashwini karma too. On one side of it, it's about fulfilling your dharma. And on another side of it, it's about your desire for moksha. It's about your desire for spiritual liberation. So there's a strong dualistic element which is associated with this nakshatra. On the dharmic side of Ashwini karma, we have an influence and alignment towards complete fulfillment of our dharma. So if you got Ashwini Nakshatra, especially in a dharmic house, it's going to help you fulfill our dharma. But those people that have strong Ashwini karma, it helps them fulfill their dharma. It helps them align to their dharma. It helps them complete their dharma, because there is this strong dharmic element which is associated with the Ashwini, because the Ashwin twins have the dharma to heal. And so those people with Ashwini karma, they also have a dharma that they must fulfill. Those natives who have strong Ashwini karma, they often find themselves very focused and devoted towards the fulfillment of their purpose here on earth. So if you have strong Ashwini karma, you can be very focused and devoted to your purpose. You can be very focused and devoted towards your path. And Ashwini provides ambition, motivation, action, and energy towards the full fulfillment of our purpose or potential. So once we are able to think about what our purpose here, which is our dharma, and align to that, Ashwini gives energy to that. Ashwini gives ambition to that. Ashwini gives motivation and action to that. So it helps you fulfill your dharma. It helps you fulfill your full dharmic potential. And this is one of the profound gifts of Ashwini Nakshatra. Due to the power of Shidra Vyapani Shakti, Those natives with the strong Ashwini karma find themselves with an incredible ability to reach, transform, and catalyze change in other people. They can quickly reach and change the hearts of millions. Also, dharmic influences of Ashwini include medicine, healing arts, even the military and ascetics, philosophers, and spiritualists. All of this is highly indicated as dharmic energies which are associated with Ashwini. But this power of Shidra Vyapani Shakti means when Ashwini karma is strong, you can easily influence others. You can easily change others, and it doesn't take a long time to do it. You have the power to transform and change other people. You also have the power to change and transform this world. Now, as we get to the Ketu aspect of Ashwini, we are reminded of the Ashwin twins' desire to be completely God realized through the consumption of soma. This shows that no matter what the dharma, which is associated with our lives, because the Ashwin twins had this incredibly profound dharma, to some extent, I'm saying it doesn't really matter what our dharma is. No matter what the dharma is, there will always be a part of us which is seeking something greater. Yes, it is important that we fulfill our dharma. It is important that we align to our dharma. But there will always be a desire for something greater than that. And this includes moksha, and this includes mahasamadhi. We want to end the cycle of reincarnation. The Ashwin twins use their spiritual powers to help control and manipulate humanity to help them reach their goal of total divinity. I know this is a pretty dark way of maybe looking at the Ashwin twins, but they did create a fake head. Okay? Their hands aren't completely clean. Okay? They created a fake head to deceive a god. So there is this aspect of manipulation, which shows it is part of Ashwini karma to do absolutely whatever it takes to reach the goals we are seeking, even if it means destruction. So there is this Ashwini karma that does whatever it wants, that does whatever it takes in order to get where you need to go, in order to get to that higher place what you're seeking. Because the Ashwin twins were willing to do anything as long as they got a taste of that soma. Similarly, with Ashwini karma, you have to have this energy of doing whatever it takes to reach your goals. And that might mean certain sacrifices. That might mean certain manipulations. That might mean certain deceptions. And so sometimes you can find with Ashwini karma, people are really willing to do whatever it takes to get to what they need to fulfill their dharma, but also to get what they want, to meet their goals, to reach their potential. They're willing to do whatever it takes. This can either be a positive energy or this can be a challenging energy. If the goals which a person is seeking are lofty, high spiritual goals, Ashwini karma can help you reach those goals, which might give you glimpses of enlightenment or samadhi. So if the goals which a person is seeking are spiritual, then that Ashwini karma will help you align to that spiritual energy, and you can really get closer to enlightenment. If the goals are more materialistic, tamasic, or ego-centered in their nature, if people with Ashwini karma have overly material, tamasic, or egotistical goals, Ashwini will help you reach those goals too. Ashwini helps everyone reach the goals which they want to reach. And if your goals are dark, Ashwini will help you reach those goals too. So we have a responsibility for those with Ashwini karma, and that's to make sure that your goals are spiritual, that your goals are selfless, that your goals are humanitarian. But the more selfish the goals are, the more materialistic or tamasic or egoistic the goals are, well, it helps you fulfill that, but that's not positive for the world. That's not positive for karmic evolution. So you have to have responsibility with Ashwini Nakshatra to make sure your goals are spiritual and selfless. Now, when we look at the Ashwini current transit, I picked Ashwini webinar today because Ashwini joined the moon at 6 a.m. this morning. That's on the East Coast. If you're in India, that would be 3:30 p.m. and it would be somewhere in between if you're in Europe. Basically, that means that Ashwini Nakshatra was only aligned for today, unless we wanted to wait another month or so. The moon will transit out of Ashwini into Bharani Nakshatra on Saturday, August 4th, which is tomorrow at 6 in the morning. So again, there's a small window in which the moon is in Ashwini, and that window is now. So this is a really auspicious time to do this type of work. The moon, however, as noted, is a rapidly moving planet and therefore transits each nakshatra quickly. It takes the moon one full day, 24 hours, to transit the full 13.2 degrees of each nakshatra. So that means every day the moon goes through one nakshatra. That means it takes about 3 days for the moon to go from one sign to another. Now, Mars transits Ashwini Nakshatra on February 6th, 2019, and it looks to be a 20-day transit. So if you have Mars and Ashwini in your chart, you can expect some profound karmic lessons at that time. The Sun transits Ashwini Nakshatra April 15th to 28th of next year. Mercury transits Ashwini May 4th to 10th. It's a short, Mercury is a quick moving planet. So Mercury transits May 4th to 10th. And then we have a Venus transit in Ashwini Nakshatra May 11th to the 21st. If any of you who are watching this webinar have Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Ashwini Nakshatra, these transits are going to be very profound for you. Now we're going to talk in detail how Ashwini will act in conjunction with the different planets. What happens when the Sun is in Ashwini? What happens when the Moon is in Ashwini? What happens when Venus is in Ashwini? So we're going to talk about all of these aspects in detail. Ashwini is so powerful. You know, I think it's so special how the mythology and the karma are so interconnected, how the mythology and the karma are so intertwined. I mean, it's so mystical to understand that how the mythology of the nakshatra and the mythology of the Ashwin twins are influencing the karma, its actions, its influence over us in our lives. I mean, it is just so profound. Great. Now we will discuss Sun in Ashwini Nakshatra. This is one of the most powerful conjunctions for Ashwini Nakshatra because the Sun is exalted in Ashwini Nakshatra. There is an extremely favorable alignment for Ashwini, particularly concerning power, prestige, reputation, success, prosperity, and the ability to influence the minds and hearts of all. So this conjunction is great for power. This conjunction is great for success and growth and the ability to profoundly influence the minds and feelings of other people. Sun is also considered one of the most favorable positions for Ashwini, and the Ashwin twins are the children of Sri Surya. So you can see why the Sun in Ashwini would be good, because they're hanging out with their father, which is the most comfortable position. The father will bestow upon its child the greatest auspiciousness. Sun in Ashwini can lead to star power due to Ashwini's ability to reach the hearts of many swiftly and supports intensity and magnetism in the delivery of speech, opinions, philosophies, theories, and expressions of creativity. So people with Sun in Ashwini are like magnets. Other people are attracted to them. And that's why they can lead to this incredible star power, this incredible reaching and influencing the minds of others. The shadow side of Ashwini in Sun is that the power to fulfill the will of the native is empowered completely within the alignment. We talked about this when we got into the Ashwini karma, which is that basically whatever you want to fulfill, Ashwini will help you fulfill that. And the strongest Ashwini karma is the Sun. So if the Sun is in Ashwini, they basically can fulfill anything. So it encourages the manifestation of the power of the individual at all costs. So the sun in Ashwini causes someone to reach their full power. And such in the case of Adolf Hitler, supported the growth of his individual will and ego and the manifestation of it, and also encouraged him to receive support due to this magnetic and influential effect of Ashwini. So Ashwini, just because it's exalted, doesn't mean that it's positive, because it has the power for someone to fulfill their dark desire. It has the power for someone to fulfill their dark ego. So like I said earlier, if you have strong Ashwini karma, you have responsibility for your goals to be spiritual and for your goals to be positive. So, you know, those natives with sun in Ashwini, they are vulnerable to being stubborn, to being aggressive, and having too big of an ego, having too large of an ego. So again, there's this positive spectrum and there's this negative spectrum. So when we talk about every planetary positions, it's not like it is good or it is bad, because there's always going to be positive energies which are associated with that, and there's always going to be challenging energies which are associated with that. Some famous Ashwini sun individuals include Adolf Hitler, Ashley Judd, Al Pacino, Scarface, I mean, come on, Kate Hudson, Charlie Chaplin, John Cena, the professional wrestler, Barbra Streisand, James Franco, the actor, J.P. Morgan, Jack Nicholson, totally, Al Pacino. You can see the sun Ashwini vibration. Also Channing Tatum as sun in Ashwini. Moon in Ashwini. Moon can have a mixed karmic effect in Ashwini Nakshatra, and this is because the moon doesn't do well with Ketu and it doesn't do well with Aries. So when we're looking at this vibration of the moon, it doesn't really react well with too many of the energies in Ashwini. It doesn't mean there's not positive things too, but it means that there's challenging energies that can be present. On the positive manifestation, Moon in Ashwini supports intelligence, also passion, also enthusiasm. It can make the individual very beautiful, and it could also give them great emotional depth. So people with Moon in Ashwini, they're very beautiful, they're very smart, they're very emotionally deep. It also encourages a deep love of philosophy and spirituality because of the Ketu association. Natives with Moon in Ashwini have the power to reach the heart and emotions of others quickly, so they reach people's hearts. Those natives with Moon in Ashwini can also be family-oriented and be large motivating, encouraging factor in the lives of others, which means they're very supportive, they're very caring, they're very loving, especially toward their family. Difficulties that can arise from Moon in Ashwini can include emotional hypersensitivity. This includes mood swings, emotional volatility, and a predisposition to Pitta-type emotional outburst. Also, when Moon is Ashwini, there is vulnerability towards certain emotional conflicts or difficulties with certain members of the family. So one of the things that can happen when Moon in Ashwini is you can have emotional conflicts with certain family members. And as mentioned, you could be vulnerable to getting frustrated. You could be vulnerable to getting angry. These emotions coming over you kind of quickly. And so the moon has a fateful degree in Ashwini Nakshatra at 8 degrees. So a fateful degree, this is a very powerful, very ancient way of studying the nakshatras. And one of my favorite authors, Shubhakaran is great. Shubhakaran is amazing for nakshatra. And so he says fateful degree of moon in 8th degree. So this means if moon is in 8th degree of Ashwini Nakshatra in someone's chart, there is a very difficult energy. Fateful degree has also been called deathly degree. It doesn't mean that if you have Ashwini and moon in 8th degree in Aries, that you're immediately going to die. But it means that you might have difficult karmas. And so let's say the moon is at 8 degrees when you're looking in the Prashna. Let's say the moon is in 8 degrees in Ashwini when you're looking at the transit. Don't go driving, don't go flying. You want to wait until the moon passes out of that 8th degree. It is considered this fateful degree the strongest degree of inauspiciousness. So we can consider this a debilitation of Ashwini Nakshatra. At the 8th degree specifically. Some famous Ashwini moon natives include Pamela Anderson from Baywatch, Prince Charles, Christian Bale, Aldous Huxley, one of my favorite authors, Daniel Day-Lewis, such a great actor, Gangs of New York, Rafael Nadal, I think it's tennis or soccer, I'm not sure, Jerry Lewis and Matt Dillon. Jerry Lewis was a comedian, an amazing comedian. Sometimes Moon and Ashwini can give a great sense of humor. There's a question popping up. Tennis, thank you, Julia. Yes, Rafael Nadal, Moon and Ashwini. Now we're going to talk about Ketu in Ashwini. When the nodes are in nakshatras, it's some really powerful spiritual energy, so I really like talking about it. Ketu has profound karmic effect in Ashwini Nakshatra. This is due to Ketu being in its own nakshatra, as well as Ketu's friendship with Mars. In many ways, we can consider Ketu to be in one of the most natural nakshatra when aligned with Ashwini. So you can consider Ketu in its own sign, in its own nakshatra when it's in Ashwini. On the positive manifestation, Ketu in Ashwini supports direct alignment with the soul's potential for spiritual evolution. So if you have Ketu in Ashwini, you have the potential to become enlightened. You have the potential to get glimpses of moksha, to get glimpses of samadhi. Those natives with this conjunction are usually automatically promoted to extremely powerful and unique purposes and positions in their career. Those natives are highly transformative and oftentimes will find themselves rapidly evolving into various positions and responsibilities throughout their life. So these people have really powerful dharmas, very significant dharmas, and they are constantly transforming and growing to that as they evolve throughout their life. This alignment supports someone to achieve their full spiritual potential. And so the natives have an affinity for religion, mysticism, spirituality, philosophy, healing, medicine, occult sciences, and all things that are occult or esoteric. So people with Ketu and Ashwini, they can have a real affinity for these areas. Usually natives with this conjunction have a certain amount of past lifetime wisdom in regards to the mystical or healing arts, as well as the various occult sciences, because Ketu is connected to our past lifetime wisdom. So if you have Ketu and Ashwini, you have some profound past life wisdom of Ayurveda, of astrology, of Vastu, of something profound like this. Challenges that result with Ketu and Ashwini, because double Ketu is double moksha karaka. So it's positive spiritually, but it might be challenging in some other ways. So it includes a tendency towards an unpredictable and erratic life. So those with Ketu and Ashwini, they don't have predictability to their life. Some things can feel ungrounded at times. This type of karaka of Ketu in its own nakshatra causes profound transformation and shifts throughout the life. And often these changes feel ungrounding and chaotic. And so because the individual has so much change in their life, it's also ungrounded. It can be a little chaotic. This moksha karaka aspect of Ketu can also influence certain types of vulnerabilities. This is certain weaknesses or challenges. It doesn't mean that if you have this, you have one of these, but it makes you vulnerable to it. So you have to be careful about these things. And this includes possession. Yes, possession of a demon, possession of a spirit, addiction, also physical disease, also mental illness, and it's also been seen with double Ketu, personality disorder. Ketu has faithful degree as well in nakshatra at 8th degree. So that means also, if Ketu is an 8th degree of Ashwini Nakshatra, it is considered particularly inauspicious, and so there has to be intense karmic remedy for that. If you have these faithful degrees, you have to do this type of remedy for Ashwini. Rahu. We all love Rahu, right? I love Rahu. So Rahu can have mixed karmic effect in Ashwini Nakshatra. This is due to Rahu's intense transformational relationship with Ketu. Rahu and Ketu have such a profound relationship to each other. And also, Rahu has a challenging relationship with Aries/Mars. So sometimes there's a mixed effect because Rahu doesn't always do the best with the Mars vibration. On the positive manifestation, Rahu in Ashwini supports an intuitive psychic ability. It activates the Ajna, third eye chakra. This conjunction also encourages profound determination towards complete fulfillment. Since with Rahu, there will be no satisfaction otherwise. Basically, Ashwini has this energy of doing whatever it takes to get what it wants, to reach its goals. Well, Rahu also has that energy. So it's a strong craving. It's a strong desire to fulfill and reach one's goals. Those natives with Rahu and Ashwini are enthusiastic, passionate, steadfast, courageous, bold, and direct. They can be a little sharp at times, but they have this bolder, direct energy. Also, natives with this conjunction have an appreciation and skill for the mystical arts, healing, spirituality, philosophy, and all the occult sciences. So those with Rahu and Ashwini, they have a particular affinity for mysticism, for spirituality, for Ayurveda, for astrology. So this is a really strong conjunction. And because the Ashwin twins are specifically connected to Ayurveda, if you have Rahu and Ashwini, you should really work with the ancient science of Ayurveda. If you have Ketu and Ashwini, you should really work with the ancient science of Ayurveda. And so also those with Rahu and Ashwini, they love to travel and to experience foreign cultures and traditions. Challenges with Rahu and Ashwini may include a stubborn, relentless, and provocative nature. Individuals with this conjunction in the most extreme sense, due to the excess nodal energy, can include a vulnerability to mental illness, just like Ketu, personality disorders, and issues with violence or violent outbursts. Specific disorders that can arise from this conjunction can include narcissistic personality disorder, bipolar, obsessive compulsive disorder, and addiction. Again, just because you have this conjunction doesn't mean you have any of those things, but it means there's a vulnerability to it. You know, Yogananda had this conjunction. He didn't have any of those issues, but it's because he was focused on a spiritual life. Mars and Ashwini can have a mixed karmic effect. This is because Mars is friendly with Ketu and a natural sign of Aries. So it can be sometimes favorable when Mars is in Ashwini, but it's not horrible. Mars in Ashwini is a fairly good position. Again, Mars will be in the sign of Aries, which is a considered Mula Trikona sign. So it's a partial exaltation in some ways because Mars and Ketu have this really positive planetary relationship. And also Mars does well with Aries. So it's favorable position. On the positive manifestation, Mars in Ashwini supports courage. It supports confidence. It supports determination and ambition. I always say that this conjunction, Mars and Ashwini, you're a real go-getter. You have the go-getter mentality. And that's when you're putting constant energy and action towards your growth and success. And with Ashwini, we talked about the fulfillment of your dharma. So you're a go-getter. You'll do whatever it takes to grow, to succeed, and to fulfill your dharma. Those with Mars and Ashwini are really, really curious. They have such a curious consciousness and are always putting profound amounts of time and energy towards researching and investigating their curiosities. So they really are knowledge seekers, and they are constantly trying to investigate that which they are curious about. Those natives with this conjunction have the potential to really work through their karmic patterns, and through action and determination, evolve to learn the lessons which their karma reveals. When there is a relationship between Mars and between Ketu, Ketu represents our karma and Mars represents action. So when those energies are combined, we can work through our difficult karmas. We can, through action, learn the lessons that we need to learn. So Mars and Ashwini, it's very good for working through your past karma. Difficulties that can arise from Mars and Ashwini can include an overly arrogant or adamant attitude. These natives can be vulnerable to aggression, violence, and therefore outbursts of the like. Those with Mars and Ashwini can also be influenced to Pitta-type health problems. Mars, Pitta. Ashwini, Pitta. Aries, Pitta. So all of this tri-Pitta energy. So because of that, it can be difficult for Pitta dosha. That may include issues with your skin, Mars and Ashwini, issues with the blood, issues with the liver. And so another energy, basically whenever working with Ashwini, you should work with Ayurvedic medicine. But specifically if Mars and Ashwini, you have to balance the Pitta dosha. You have to balance the fire element in the body. Jupiter and Ashwini. This is a very favorable position for Jupiter. Jupiter is friends with, Jupiter doesn't have a friendship with Ketu, although Jupiter does well or is neutral with Ketu, but Jupiter is friendship with Mars, and Jupiter does well in Aries. And so Jupiter does tend to do well in Ashwini Nakshatra. On the positive side, Jupiter in Ashwini supports profound spiritual evolution, and often natives with this alignment prioritize seeking spiritual wisdom. Jupiter in Ashwini supports high education and a thirst for knowledge and wisdom on an academic and spiritual level. And so often, those with Jupiter in Ashwini, they go to college, they go to medical school, they go to law school, they go to these higher educational systems. This conjunction encourages wisdom to be put into action and can give the native an affinity and knowledge of medicine, astrology, shamanism, foreign cultures, and history. And so if you are going to go to a postgraduate school, I like medical school, especially for Jupiter and Ashwini. This conjunction also can put determination, ambition, and enthusiasm towards the completion of formal degrees. Jupiter in Ashwini supports high moral and ethical action on the most profound level and can be associated with a fear of immorality, a fear of illegal things. This might show an actual fear of something which is immoral, a fear of something which is illegal. A good kind of fear, you could say. Challenge that comes from Jupiter and Ashwini include an over-obsession towards academic and spiritual pursuits. The native might decline certain other important aspects of life to focus on school or the spiritual path. So they're focusing on certain things that are important to them, but are ignoring the other areas of life which may be important. Also, when Jupiter is in Ashwini, the native is vulnerable to being adamant and arrogant in terms of their moral and ethical beliefs, thinking they know what's right, thinking that they know the right thing. This might cause a mild superiority complex in the natives with Jupiter and Ashwini, and a self-righteous attitude. So you got to be careful. Even though all of this positive spiritual energy, don't let it get to your head. You got to be humble. Don't be self-righteous or think that you know it all. He who thinks he knows it all truly knows nothing at all. This might, it is beneficial for individuals with this conjunction to remain open-minded to other ways of understanding. So if you have Jupiter and Ashwini, do your best to be open-minded to other philosophies and ways of understanding things. Venus in Ashwini. This is a really powerful combination, and it has a lot of positive energy and it has a lot of difficult energy. Sometimes Venus can have a challenging relationship with Ketu and Mars. So there can be a challenging energy sometimes when Venus is in Ashwini, but it can also be a lot of fun. On the positive manifestation, Venus in Ashwini supports the native to have all of this creative potential. These natives usually have various skills and talents in the fine art, music, entertainment, and beauty. Those natives with this conjunction often find themselves drawn towards a lifestyle which prioritizes and encourages creative ability and talent. So they might be drawn to different areas of life or different jobs or different hobbies which are going to support their creative abilities. This conjunction also supports an ability to enjoy life, have a good time and celebrate, have fun, party a little bit. This is kind of a partying combination. Ashwini Venus natives often find themselves evolving through refinement of the senses and controlling over their desires. So also, even though they might be predisposed to indulgences and having a lot of fun, on the other side of it, they evolve with refining their senses and controlling their desires. Difficulties that can arise from Venus and Ashwini can include an overly indulgent, hedonistic, or lustful personality, which means they crave lots of things, they crave pleasure, and they might have some strained sexual energy. Due to these influences, this conjunction can create a vulnerability for addiction, strained sexual desires, and issues of consumption or derangement, taking too much of things. Ketu's effect on the Ojas aspect of Venus can also influence autoimmune difficulties with this conjunction and challenges with overall health, unless Ayurvedic or health-oriented lifestyle is applied. And that's why I mention again, if you have Ashwini karma, have Ayurvedic lifestyle. Those with Venus and Ashwini also have vulnerability to be codependent in relationship. That means too much attached to partner and to put too much emphasis on the material world and money. Mercury can also have a challenging effect in Ashwini Nakshatra. That's because Mercury doesn't do well with Ketu or Mars either. And so you're looking at another more challenging vibration, but always there will be gifts, always there will be challenges. On the positive manifestation, Mercury in Ashwini encourages profound intelligence. Those with Mercury in Ashwini are smart and have strong intellectual capacity, a lot of potential to use their mind. It also supports strong writing and speaking abilities, and usually the words of the native reach and influence the minds and hearts of others. So there's this power with Mercury in Ashwini to use your words, to use your writing, to have influence over others. Those with Mercury in Ashwini can be bold, they can be courageous, and extremely expressive, particularly in terms of speech. Natives with Mercury in Ashwini have an affinity for foreign cultures and lands and have a profound ability to learn and integrate foreign languages. So if you have Mercury in Ashwini, you should know more than one language. You should know at least 3 different languages. If you have Mercury in Ashwini, to improve your karma, learn languages. The power to be influential through speech and writing is strongly noted here. Problems which arise from Mercury and Ashwini include an overly logical-oriented mind. So people who are too rational, people who are too logical. Therefore, these natives might be atheists. They might not believe in God, and profound skeptics or doubters when it comes to anything that cannot be proven scientifically. Challenges from Mercury and Ashwini can include difficulties with the physical eyes, with the eyes. Also, the communication of a native with Mercury and Ashwini can be brash, it can be sharp, it can be hurtful. So sometimes what people say with Mercury and Ashwini, it might hurt the feelings of others. There is a tendency here towards an aggressive, blunt, and closed-minded personality. So you have to be careful of that with this conjunction. These natives also have a tendency to mental health challenges. There's always, with Ashwini, there's always this vulnerability to mental health difficulties. And then with Mercury, it might include obsessive compulsive and attention deficit disorders. Saturn in Ashwini. Saturn can have a mixed and often extremely difficult relationship with Ashwini Nakshatra. Actually, for many, it's the most difficult position, unless there is some other aspect which is canceling out the debilitation, some type of Nichbanga Yoga, because otherwise, this can be an extremely difficult alignment, and that is because Saturn is debilitated in Ashwini. Saturn is debilitated in Aries. This is very dangerous energy. On the positive manifestation, Saturn in Ashwini can cause determination, steadfastness, and healthy seriousness. So this is a strong energy. And also, if you have Saturn in Ashwini, it actually can show success in the material world. It can show success in the mundane world, which means the day-to-day life. Saturn in Ashwini, though, is extremely difficult position for Saturn and is considered a debilitation nakshatra. Those natives with Saturn in Ashwini are cursed with duality, playing a profoundly heavy influence in their life. Often they have profound desires for growth and material success, but due to Saturn's debilitated influence here, there's a huge adversity to the achievement of that. That means you want something, but Saturn is going to make you hard to get it. They often find themselves putting tons of time and energy in hopes of a positive outcome, but find themselves suppressed by delays, adversities, obstacles, difficulties with authority, and an over-concentration of mundane work, which means they might feel like a slave to their day-to-day life and may even work more than 40 hours per week. Maybe they work 50 hours per week, 60 hours per week, 70 hours per week. I describe this as the hamster in the wheel scenario, where a hamster sees cheese that is in his cage and therefore keeps spinning the wheel, which exhausts the hamster, but he gets no closer to the cheese. Action and energy and effort going towards something, wanting to get it, but not necessarily getting it, or there being strong delays in order of getting it. But again, there might be an aspect of Jupiter or a retrograde or some type of energy that cancels this debilitation. But if there's no positive aspect on this, it can be very difficult to achieve things in a quick period of time. It takes away the energy of Ashwini, which is the power to change and reach things quickly. So just to go over everything we talked about the mythology of Ashwini. We talked about the karma of Ashwini. We talked about how all of the Navagraha, the 9 major planets, will act in Ashwini. And yes, it's good to know how Ashwini is influencing us, but what's the point if we can't do anything about it? What's the point if we can't do remedy to make our karma better? And so this is the most essential part of this presentation, which is specifically what are the remedy to improve our karma with Ashwini Nakshatra. That means if you have Ashwini in any position, you have Ashwini in ascendant, please look at this remedy. Tuesday is the most beneficial day of the week to honor Ashwini, and that's because Ketu we honor on Tuesday. We honor Ashwini by wearing the color red. We also honor Ashwini by wearing multicolored and striped clothing of many different colors and stripes, as well as any clothing which is heavily worn or tattered, which means your vintage clothing, the oldest clothing you have that has lots of holes and tears in it. We honor Ashwini through traditional Ketu mantra, including the full sutra and tantric or seed sound 108 times. And that was the mantra that we did in the beginning of our session here. We honor Ashwini through prayer in front of a well-designed Ketu yantra in a heavenly direction. Every planet has a direction which it likes to travel. Ketu's direction is upward. But also because of Ashwini connection with sun, you can put it in northeast part of the house. But it is said to be in the most divine part of the house. It is the most spiritual part of the house, that direction which is toward heaven. We honor Ashwini by wearing the gemstone cat's eye chrysoberyl on the middle finger. Generally, Ketu gemstone to be worn in Panchadhatu setting, which means 5 different metals. Alternatively, you can wear the cat's eye in a gold setting on Wednesday or Friday between sunset and 8 p.m. And that's specifically from one of my favorite authors, Shubhakaran. That has to do with the Kala, time of day being the most auspicious. So best time to wear the ring, Wednesday, Friday, sunset to 8. Traditionally, we wear right hand for male and left hand for female, but we live in contemporary world as well. And so for the modern approach, we wear the dominant hand to increase the overall energy of the planet. And for the modern approach, we use the non-dominant hand to decrease the challenging energy, to decrease the malefic energy. So if you have strong, positive Ashwini karma, wear it on your dominant hand. If you have more challenging Ashwini karma you want to improve with, wear it on your non-dominant hand. And again, cat's eye chrysoberyl. We honor Ashwini through the Ashwin twins, the physicians of Svarga, including rituals and puja honoring the Ashwin twins. So if you have an altar, put up a image of the Ashwin twins, burn some incense, give them offering. It's very positive. We honor Ashwini through honoring Shiva. The mythology discusses that the divine Lord, Shri Mahadeva, resides within Ashwini Nakshatra at all times. It is particularly favorable to perform the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya in honor of Lord Shiva, in honor of Ashwini Nakshatra. And yes, it is said that Shiva resides in the mansion of Ashwini at times. We honor Ashwini through honoring their father Surya. This includes full Surya Sutra and Tantric or Sitam 108 times. The sun mantra, very beneficial in honoring Ashwini. We also honor Ashwini through the study of the Vedic spiritual sciences. This is primarily Ayurveda because the Ashwin twins are doctors. But because of Ketu, it includes anything mystical, anything outside of the box, anything occult or esoteric. So if you have strong Ashwini karma, study Ayurveda, study Jyotish, study yoga, study Vastu. Now, Ayurvedic improvement with Ashwini karma, it does matter what planet is there. If Jupiter's there, there will be more Kapha influence to Ashwini. If Saturn is there, there will be more Vata influence to Ashwini. But in general, Ashwini is related to the Ayurvedic dosha Pitta, which contains the elements fire, called Agni in Sanskrit, and water, which is Drava in Sanskrit. Pitta contains the qualities, gunas in Sanskrit, Ushna, hot, Tikshna, sharp, Lagu, light, Drava, liquid, Snigdaha, oily, and spreading. Therefore, when dealing with difficult challenges or karmas, health karma related specifically to Ashwini, it is important to balance the Pitta dosha, and it is important to balance the qualities or gunas of the Pitta dosha. From an Ayurvedic perspective, it's the gunas or qualities which are opposite Pitta, which will balance Pitta. This includes Guru, heavy, Shita, cold, Manda, slow, Ruksha, dry, Sthira, stable, Stula, gross. And so one of the things that means is with Ashwini karma, the go-getter mentality. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to be busy. You got to get to the next goal. You got to get to the next level of success. That's all Pitta, Pitta, Pitta. I need to be power. I need to be successful. That's all Pitta type energy. And so that's going to be balanced by taking things slowly, by being a little bit heavier, by taking things a little bit easier. So you need to relax all of that intense Pitta energy. I like 2 pranayama for this, Shitali pranayama and Shitkari pranayama. That's the one that's forked tongue like this. Therefore, challenging karma with Ketu can be improved within the daily lifestyle through incorporating these opposite gunas of Pitta and avoiding all of that excess Pitta energy. Avoid spicy food. Avoid hot temperatures. Try to keep yourself cool, calm, collected. Also give yourself coconut, cucumber, and cilantro. Ayurvedic herbs that are good for Ketu include neem, rose, anantamula, and shatavari. These are very balancing herbs to the Ashwini. Now we're going to discuss some lifestyle remedy for Ashwini Nakshatra. We honor Ashwini through development of a meditation practice. Ashwini supports individuals to align to their full dharmic potential in the process of their spiritual evolution. That means we have to support a meditation practice if we really want to improve our karma with Ashwini. The best way to have insight into what our true dharmic potential is through meditation and the development of intuition. That means if you're always looking for your dharma outside of yourself, you're never going to find it. But if you meditate, work on the power of your third eye, your Dharma will reveal itself to you. We honor Ashwini through transcendental, mystical, and occult rituals or practices. This includes any practices which are shamanic, healing, magical, and mystical. This includes working with other realms or dimensions, such as the dream world, shamanic realms, and places of celestial consciousness. So doing some really powerful mystical work here is in strong alignment with Ashwini. The Ashwin twins' greatest desire was to obtain the soma and consume it within the proper ritualistic fashion. It is the Ashwini affinity for the soma that promotes this type of transcendental and mystical work to improve our karma with the Ashwini. Because the Ashwini wanted the soma to become immortal, you can desire any sort of experience that will help you bring to your spiritual evolution, that will help you evolve, that will help you grow to your highest spiritual potential. And this might mean working with shamans. This might mean working with dreams. It will greatly aid and improve our karma with Ashwini to deeply embed within our life the lessons within the mythology of the Ashwin twins. Think of the lessons that the Ashwins had to learn, and similarly, those with Ashwini will have to learn those lessons too. Similar to the Ashwin twins' dharma to heal, we improve our karma with Ashwini by always prioritizing and emphasizing the whole fulfillment of our dharmic potential. So never forget your purpose here. Always prioritize that. Always emphasize that. The Ashwin twins were at times distracted from their dharma for their desire for divinity. This means they wanted something greater than just to fulfill their dharma here. This desire for ultimate realization indicates the ruler of Ketu in this nakshatra, but that in the process of our path to moksha, we cannot stray away from our dharmic duty or obligation, or there is no true enlightenment at all. That means that yes, we might desire something more. We might desire moksha. We might desire enlightenment. We might desire liberation. But none of that is worthwhile if you do not fulfill your purpose here, if you do not fulfill your dharma. So never let moksha distract you from dharma. You have a responsibility with Ashwini to fulfill your dharma before you can focus on moksha. Wherever Ashwini is placed, the native will have strong ambition and desire to fulfill their higher spiritual dharma in that aim and area of life. Therefore, it is essential to improve our karma with Ashwini that we always prioritize the profound ambition and desire to fulfill our dharma. Natives with Ashwini must also be wary never to allow the dharma to be confused with the will of the ego. We talked earlier, Ashwini helps you fulfill your goals. Ashwini helps you fulfill your desires. If your dharma is truly connected to God, it will be this positive spiritual energy. But you must not confuse the dharma with the desire of the ego. The Ashwin twins had profound desire for ultimate moksha and realization. After they were informed of Soma, it became their primary directive to find it and fulfill their full divine potential. Even though Ashwini supports fulfillment of dharma through determination, it is also ruled by Ketu, and so it supports moksha as well. This is the duality of Ashwini. It is said that Ashwini represents and embodies duality. That is because it activates dharma, but it also activates moksha. We improve our karma with Ashwini by remembering that once our dharma or our purpose is complete, fulfilled, and done, then moksha is the goal, or ultimate liberation, or mahasamadhi. That means the ultimate evolution and karmic lesson with Ashwini is to fulfill your dharma. And then once your dharma has been fulfilled, and you only know that through intuition, once your dharma has been fulfilled, then and only then can we focus on moksha. But that is what we are supposed to focus on. That is what we have to focus on. When you have fulfilled your dharma, if you have strong Ashwini karma, then it's time to start focusing on your spirituality. It's time to start focusing on your liberation, and it's time to start focusing on your enlightenment. There's a quote that I like to describe this. This is from the great musical artist Bob Marley, Robert Nesta Marley. This is one of my favorite quotes of his, and it must really describe the Ashwini karma. He said, "One bright morning, when my work is over, man will fly away home." This is very symbolic of the Ashwini karma. I get goosebumps and chills when I think about it. Because once we have fulfilled our dharma, once we have fulfilled our purpose here, it is time to rejoin God. We are only here to fulfill our dharma. We are only here to fulfill our purpose. And once that is done, God, please take me, because I have already done what I am supposed to do here. That is true surrender. That is true moksha. That is true liberation. And so, yes, you must fulfill your dharma. But then once that dharma is fulfilled, it is time to start preparing for the next realm, for God, for the transition out of this life. So we honor Ashwini through letting go of our attachments and surrendering our control. Ashwini wanted to drink soma, but Lord Indra did not want to allow this because of Ashwini human nature. This includes attachments and desires. And even though the Ashwin twins had this miraculous Vyapani Shakti, this power to heal, they had weaknesses connected to their attachments and desires. They had this profound dharmic energy to heal. They also had an attachment to be more than they were. To improve our karma with Ashwini, we have to fulfill our dharma and at the same time do our best to let go of our attachments and surrender our expectations. So profound. So right now we're going to look at Sri Yogananda Ji's Ashwini karma. This is the South Indian chart and the North Indian chart. So when looking at his North Indian chart, we find Rahu in Ashwini karma in the 9th house here. So I'm just pointing out here this Rahu energy, which is Ashwini in Yogananda's chart. He's a Leo Lagna with moon at 3 degrees. When looking at Yoganandaji planetary karma with Ashwini, we find the North Node Rahu in the 4th pada of Ashwini Nakshatra, positioned in the 9th house. When you're looking at nakshatras, they're divided into padas, which are called quarters, and each quarter has a specific energy. Each quarter has a specific signification. And so because Yoganandaji is at 11 degrees, it's in the last pada, the last quarter of the nakshatra. The Rahu being posited in the last pada of the nakshatra suggests that Yogananda has learned and integrated the full evolution of his Rahu karma through Ashwini. So you're looking at evolved Rahu karma and you're looking at evolved Ashwini karma. Rahu and Ashwini supports a profound spiritual orientation. We talked about that. Rahu and Ashwini supports courage, action, energy, and determination. The 9th house, which expresses religious energies and philosophies, Rahu and Ashwini will work to not only develop the highest wisdom of religion and philosophy, but through Dharma share it. So because Rahu is in the 9th, because Rahu is in Ashwini, Yogananda had to always be increasing his spiritual wisdom, and it also was his Dharma to share it, to be a guru, to be a representation of that spiritual wisdom. This ability to share spiritual or religious wisdom is double emphasized in Yoganandaji's chart through Mars, Jupiter, Pisces yoga positioned in 8th house. So this energy of Rahu in the 9th is similarly supported by this Mars-Jupiter conjunction in Pisces, which is not very far from it. This Rahu Ashwini position suggests Yoganandaji's Dharma to develop his spiritual wisdom and through action, ambition, and bravery, share that wisdom to the greater world. Rahu's element of attraction towards foreign lands and cultures, combined with Ashwini's karma of Vyapani Shakti, allows Yoganandaji to influence the hearts and minds of communities in other lands. This Rahu and Ashwini karma suggests Sri Yogananda's influence in the United States. Because Rahu is in Ashwini, people from other countries will be attracted to Yogananda. He will gain growth. He will influence the minds and hearts of others, of people in other lands. And his ability to transmit his spiritual wisdom to all people, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of religion, regardless of money, and regardless of geography, Yogananda had a power to reach you. Yogananda had a power to touch your heart. Yogananda had a power to influence you. It didn't matter where in the world you were from. So now is a really great time if anyone who is joining us today wants to ask any questions on Ashwini karma. Please just throw them in here into the chat. We'll give a couple minutes here to see if anyone has any questions, and we can look at those questions in detail. Just gonna give a few minutes for questions. How to use Ashwini to heal illnesses? Which mantras? This is a great question, Marie. Ashwini, as being the physician of the fathers, is connected with the ancient science of Ayurveda. So it is directly associated with Ashwini to work with the science of Ayurveda. And so if you are healing, if you're working on healing illnesses, one of the primary things that you do with Ashwini is do a Panchakarma treatment. Panchakarma treatment, 30 days, 60 days, do an Ayurvedic treatment, and then start to live Ayurvedic lifestyle, and then start to live Dinacharya. Scrape your tongue in the morning, do the neti pot, do gandush, do gargling with oil, all to do these things which are associated with the Ayurvedic lifestyle. Specifically, mantras to use with Ashwini, the primary is Om Namah Shivaya, but also that last aspect that we talk about with Ketu, the tantric sound, I believe that that has the power to heal illnesses. That's Om, Kram, Krim, Kram, Saha, Kitave Namaha. And there's also Om, Aim, Him, Klim, Kitave Namaha. These are very powerful mantras. But Om Namah Shivaya, one of the primary mantras for the positive healing energies of Ashwini. But specifically for how to use Ashwini to heal illnesses, you go through Ayurveda. You go through shamanism, which is you could do South American shamanism. You could do Native American shamanism. You could do Chinese medicine or Chinese herbology. But basically, you are to use these ancient silences. Great questions. First is, what if one has no planets in Ashwini Nakshatra or the sign itself? That means that it doesn't necessarily mean that these lessons aren't part of your life, but it means that Ashwini will primarily be influencing you. Ashwini will primarily be influencing you when there is a transit. So when the moon is in Ashwini, that might influence you. We talked about when Mars, Mercury, Venus, and Sun will be in Ashwini. And at those times, the lessons of Ashwini will be influencing you. But if you do not have any planets in Ashwini and your ascendant is not in Ashwini, in that case, it's not going to be influencing you the way it will be influencing someone else. Do we need to see the position of Ketu in the chart to fine-tune purpose of Dharma? If you have Ashwini karma, definitely look at the position of Ashwini to fine-tune the Dharma. Ashwini will help you fine-tune the Dharma. Ketu, not necessarily used to help fine-tune the Dharma, but Ketu is our moksha, and we talked about Ketu is our spiritual evolution. So you might want to look at Rahu to some of the energies to fulfill the Dharma, and Ketu, yes, to fulfill your spiritual evolution more so when directly looking at Ketu. Anil asked, what are the type of professional involved in Ashwini Nakshatra? Well, there's a specific affinity for medicine. So this includes doctors, this includes physicians, not just alternative medicine, but allopathic medicine. These are peoples that work with the physical body. Also, because of Ashwini's ability to travel and reach places, this has to do with international business. This has to do with international travel. This might even have to do with certain types of jobs which take an individual through many different places. So kind of a traveling type job. It can also support the military. Ashwini is strong for the military. Also positions of leadership, positions of authority, such as, CEO. So it can promote someone to being a profound leader in whatever area of business that they might choose. But it has a specific, you are a doctor. Well, that is perfect. That is perfect. Yes, it's very appropriate to fulfill the Dharma in alignment with this Ashwini energy to look towards healing. Sometimes when Ashwini karma is strong, we have a wounded healer karma, which means we need to suffer with certain health difficulties, learn how to heal them, learn how to fix them, and it also helps us unlock the healing abilities within ourselves. Okay, any other questions coming up? Any questions? No? Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone. How do the padas differ? That's a great question, Neil. When you start to get into the nakshatra, the first pada, because you're just starting to learn some of the lessons within the nakshatra, they can be more difficult. As you get into the second, third, there's a real connection with the lessons of that nakshatra, and there's an ability to kind of learn the lessons of that nakshatra. And then the fourth layer of that nakshatra is when the lessons should have been learned, and it's your ability to integrate the lessons. It's your ability to learn the lessons, and not learn them for the first time, but to be tested as to whether you've learned them, and for those lessons to be integrated. The first pada of Ashwini Nakshatra, it can be more challenging. The second and third nakshatra of Ashwini are very strong, and the fourth shows a spiritual evolution associated with the Ashwini Nakshatra. So unless any other questions come up, I just want to thank everyone for coming here today. It's such a blessing to have you here in this first episode of how to improve our karma with Ashwini Nakshatra. If you ever need to get a hold of me, here's my information here. Thank you, George. It's such a blessing to have you as my friend and as a colleague. Again, I have a YouTube channel if you want to check it out. It was just such a blessing to share all of this time with you. I feel such an honor. I feel such a blessing. We're going to be jumping into our next webinar in the next couple months, and I will be putting some promotional details on that. I want to give a special thanks to Saptarishis Astrology. Special thanks to Sunil John at Saptarishis Astrology. He is such a blessing in everyone's life, for he create this amazing foundation for astrological wisdom to be shared. Thank you very kindly, Sunil John, and the whole team at Saptarishis Astrology. Thank you to all of the Devas. Om Namah Shivaya. May we all be blessed. I'm going to do a quick closing chant to end our session today, but I just want to thank everyone that joined us today, everyone who's watching this webinar, and please continue to let us all please continue to focus to improve our planetary karma. Infinite blessings. Sahanau Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Saha Viryam Karavavahe, Tejasvinavadi Tamastu, Ma Bivashavahe, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurabhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Namah Shivaya. Jai Shiva Shankara. Blessings to all those out there. Please enjoy the journey, and may you always be blessed. Om Namah Shivaya.